Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lesser Known But Awesome Heroes. And this is going to be one of the few videos, guys, where I gotta be honest, I'm going to kind of wing it a little bit because, as I've stated in my Lesser Known retrospective, I use Wikipedia for a lot of these videos. And of course, I've just done the 100 character video deal, so I've figured, rather than doing Adam Warlock and Plastic Man, I thought I'd actually push these characters to the forefront because, you know, I find these characters very interesting, but today I'll be talking about the superhero slash suicide slash, Marvel Suicide Squad-ish type, team, if you will. So today I'll be talking about the Thunderbolts. Now, there's a lot of history and stuff, here in the Wikipedia, entry, and a lot of it, like many wiki entries, is either excessively detailed or it's outdated and stuff. So, as I will state in this video throughout all the rest of them, because I do use Wikipedia, if something is outdated and needs to be updated, or this and that and a lot of other stuff, I don't mind if you guys correct me or give me information, but at least please try to be nice about it. Don't try to sit there and go, "Oh, that's a bunch of bullshit." Don't do that. I don't like that. Anyway, the Thunderbolts debuted in Incredible Hulk issue 449 in January of 1997, and they were created by writer Kurt Busiek, Busiek, and artist Mike Bagley. The Thunderbolts have had many roster members, and I'm not going to go through the entire roster list because it's quite excessively long, but the Thunderbolts have had many different members. They've had, and the great thing about the Thunderbolts that makes them a unique superhero or as I say, Marvel's version of Suicide Squad, is that a lot of the characters are actually either supervillains that if they work for this is going to be like government sponsored and yada yada yada, but the Thunderbolts actually, guys, originally started out as a team of reformed superheroes. And it's in that issue of the Incredible Hulk that I just now named off that these characters originally were led by Baron Helmut Zemo. Yes, Baron Zemo's son, Helmut, actually originally posed the team as a superhero group that was to gain the public's trust after the Avengers were either disbanded or allegedly killed. And so what Zemo did is that when the Avengers came back, he revealed to the world, although it was only known to us, the reader, but not the world, that this was supposed to be the new reincarnation of the Masters of Evil. And the members at that time was, Mach 1, which was the former Beetle, Abner Jenkins, Eric Jostens, who was known as Goliath and Power Man stuff. He took the name Atlas. The Fixer, or Mr. Fix, was actually known as the hero Techno. Melissa Gold, aka Screaming Mimi, took on the name Songbird, and they had many different other members, including Jolt, who was a young teen superhero who believed that the group was genuinely, doing heroic things. Well, the thing about Zemo is that he thought, these guys, he assigned Moonstone, who took the name Meteorite, as to be his enforcer in case anybody got out of line. Well, when the Avengers came back, Zemo, wanting to discredit all his other teammates and stab them in the back, basically said, "Yeah, we're the Masters of Evil." It's like, come on guys, you have no choice, you have to attack. Zemo screwed himself over, because Melissa Gold, took the reins and basically became the Thunderbolts leader. She's become the signature leader of the Thunderbolts for the most part, at least the field leader. She looked at them, she looked at Eric, she looked at Abner, she looked at all the other members, and they all just looked at Zemo and they basically told him to go screw, and they all attacked him at once. So basically, Baron Zemo had the tables turned on him because, all these characters, all these villains actually genuinely enjoyed being superheroes. And they gained a new perspective from a lot of the superheroes that they fought. And so these specific, characters actually ended up saying, hey, we now understand why Spider-Man and Iron Man and Thor and all them, we get why they're heroic. We actually like that the public appreciates us. And so after it was revealed and they defeated Zemo and everything, Moonstone did not want to reform. She didn't want to become a hero. She felt that went against her personality and her motives. And she explained to the team that the only reason that she turned on Zemo was simply for her own preservation and her own, greedy ambitions. However, later on, the team would go under some scrutiny from the Avengers and the general public. However, they would keep proving, even going as far as stopping a supervillain prison breakout, to which Captain America actually started to genuinely see Melissa and the others actually try to, reform. And they would go through some pretty tough times, but eventually they would win over the public and they would start to gain many other new members, including Andreas von Strucker, the son of Baron von Strucker, who took up the name of Swordsman, and had a creepy deal where apparently his sister's flesh was carved off her and made into leather straps that went around, his swords. But we're not going to get into that creepy deal. And other ones like Donald Gill, the former Iron Man villain Blizzard would actually join the team. They would, and then they'd introduce other ones like Joystick and Speed Demon and Chin Lu, the radioactive man. Robbie Baldwin, when the whole Stamford, Connecticut incident during the Civil War happened, he became Penance. Eventually, Norman Osborn took over the team and kind of shuffled Melissa to, second lackey. And so Green Goblin took over as the leader of the Thunderbolts. And then, they had Mac Gargan at this time, who had become the third Venom, at least in terms of continuity. He was on the team. And then we had Bullseye. And so less and less, the Thunderbolts became less about a group of supervillains that were trying to reform, trying to walk the straight and narrow, trying to, in a sense, make up for all the bad deeds that they did. And that was the biggest thing that a lot of people praised the book, and even I myself can vouch for this. The themes of redemption and what is the true meaning of heroism, and can somebody who's done a lot of bad things be given a second chance? Those were great themes in some of the early Thunderbolts books. Now, in a sense, in some of the current stories that they've done with the Suicide Squad, they've actually made them more... I said the Suicide Squad because that's basically what the Thunderbolts have become now. Luke Cage basically he's running the Thunderbolts as if they're like the Suicide Squad. He is basically the, Marvel's male equivalent of Amanda Waller now. Like, he basically tells most of these supervillains, okay, you got two choices. You can rot in prison, or you can basically get pardoned slightly you can get pardoned slightly and get off on good behavior by doing a couple of missions with the Thunderbolts. And there are even many heroes who have actually been anointed into the Thunderbolts. For example, Deadpool was anointed into the group. Thunderbolt Ross, ironic. Red Hulk is part of the current roster that's going to be in the Marvel Now series. Frank Castle, the Punisher is going to be part of the Marvel Now series. Elektra and, Flash Thompson's Venom. Like, that's some of the Marvel Now. That's some of the current characters. But I'm just saying, the Thunderbolts have had a pretty long list. Eel, Doc Ock, Whirlwind. They've just, like I said, it's a pretty big roster. You guys can look it up yourselves. But that's the thing that actually makes the Thunderbolts very unique. And they less and less kind of deterred from that, and then they made them more, as I said, Marvel's equivalent of the Suicide Squad. They were basically, keep in line, do your job, and you might get off with parole or at least partly pardoned. And there's a whole bunch of, information on that and everything, but, the Thunderbolts are kind of, that set of characters that you kind of look at them, and you kind of look at what they've done as supervillains, and you kind of see what they tried to do. And I don't know, to me, I like the Thunderbolts. Like I said, this is more off the cuff. I'm not preparing for this because, honestly, all the information that's there, guys, I gotta be honest, it would take like 2 hours for me to explain the entire origins of the Thunderbolts. So instead, I'm just gonna do, this quick, off the cuff type video. There's not really much to really be said either about the history of the Thunderbolts. It's just mainly just, roster changes and how they started out. And currently, like I said, they're very much Marvel's equivalent of the Suicide Squad. I know I've said that a lot, but that's basically what they are. So take that with a grain of salt, guys, but as always, stay tuned, and this has been the video on the Thunderbolts. And in my actual ramblings, I forgot to mention this, guys. They were also involved in Secret Invasion. They were also involved in the Civil War, Siege. They were involved in many major Marvel plot lines. I know that's kind of weird that I tacked this on at the very end, but I just thought that I'd add that just because I forgot to mention it in my off-the-cuffness. I also have a bit of a surprise for you guys, although it's not much, but I figure I'll at least, give it a try since I'm being off the cuff. Alright, I'm going to give you... I can't believe I'm actually going to attempt to do this, but I'm going to explain Ultraforce as best I can. This is going to be kind of fun and laughable. Okay, the pre-Black September date was in Ultraforce #1 in August of 1994, and the post-Black September was Ultraforce Volume 2, Issue 1 in October of 1995. The roster for the original team included Hardcase, who was a public hero, Prime, who was a teenage boy, very similar to Captain Marvel, Topaz, who was the Queen of Gwendor, not really an Ultra, Contrary, who was in a sense like the provider and mysterious, enigmatic, organizer / leader, Prototype, who was the spokesman for Ultra Tech and also their mascot, the undead but clairvoyant Ghoul, and the artificial, almost holographic Pix. Now, this team was mainly consisted to police other Ultras in what is referred to as the Ultraverse. And Ultras are basically the equivalent of metahumans in the DC universe or mutants in the Marvel universe. These are people born or inherently infected by radiation, etc., and given, unique superpowers. Some are good, some are evil. And aside from the original team, Dane Whiteman, the Black Knight, was even at one point actually part of the roster and team leader. The post-Black Sunday, as they call it, Black Sunday was the day that Marvel actually acquired the rights from Malibu Comics, actually bought them out, and actually Ultraforce was one of their acquisitions. And after that, they did numerous, almost emphatical changes to the Ultraverse, getting rid of a lot of key characters and replacing them. For example, Prototype was not a Hispanic young man, but rather a Caucasian middle-aged man. And that Prime was more aggressive, and, Topaz was very much an anti-hero. And also that numerous retcons, severe ones, were made to the Ultraverse. And a lot of fans of Malibu Comics and even the original Ultraforce comics claim that Marvel not only destroyed Ultraforce, but they basically destroyed what the team had originally stood for. And so they, needless to say, that pretty much was the end, at least of Ultraforce in a lot of people's opinions. And eventually they would go on to drop the entire Ultraforce period, and a few characters would slowly die out, with the exception of maybe Prime. But Marvel has not used Ultraforce in many, many years, and many question why, like, number issue volumes of the original comics have never come out. This actually intrigues me greatly too, since I have most of the original comics. But I don't know. Sorry, got cut off there in the previous audio clip there, but I don't know. It's certainly a great mystery among many comic book fans, especially fans of the 90s comics, why the original Ultraforce comics have never been released quite yet, and even the new ones. Ultraforce has kind of been one of those obscure teams, guys, that unfortunately they just kind of dropped off the map and they never really were talked about again. And this greatly actually concerns me, because Ultraforce was a great concept for its time in the 90s. But I guess like all things in the 90s, it was cool, it was macho, but in modern times it kind of would be looked at as lame and even silly. But unfortunately, guys, that's about the best I can really do for Ultraforce. That's about as much information as I can scrounge up and even talk about, off the cuff. So I thought that would be a nice little surprise, at least attempt to try to talk about Ultraforce. I feel that I should at least try to do a little bit of justice to the team there. So that's it, guys. Consider this a bonus. So I am off and I am out.